Hello and welcome to the Mariana Dalto Show, where we delve into the minds of innovative entrepreneurs and industry leaders. Today, we're thrilled to have Basel Hakim, the owner of Web Services Pro. He's joining us to discuss how AI can reduce overhead, automate profits, and streamline business processes for medium-sized businesses. Welcome, Basel, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this topic because anything that is AI, people are always like wanting to learn what's new, what can we do differently to help improve our processes. So this is a nice topic to have in our podcast. So thanks for joining us.
I'd love to talk to you about it. There's so
Yeah.
much to go over.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start first talking about your journey as a business owner. Tell us a little bit about your background about yourself.
Yeah, actually, I went to school for pharmacy. So I really began as a pharmacist. I worked a couple years in CVS. It felt like just like fast food, but with pills instead of burgers. And you're just like a cog in a machine. The whole reason I went into it was more obviously to help people, but I didn't have the ability because you're just a little piece in this big machine and you have to, I don't want to go too deep into that tangent, but a couple of years into that, I said, let me just work for myself. A lot of people in my family also have their own businesses. So I started to just explore online. Okay, what can I do? What's simple? What can I do that won't require a lot of studying or training? What do I like? So first I went into real estate. I like real estate a lot. So I did a couple of years as a real estate. I did wholesaling, real estate investing, which is kind of along the same. I think you work with Grant Cardone. So
Yes.
I don't know him, but I know of him as well. He is someone I encountered a lot during during my studies. So I went into commercial real estate. I wanted to do some wholesaling, but what I found was that whenever I would either have a deal with the buyer side or the seller side, the other side would take too long to move, or there'd be too many people in the decision making. So whenever you have that time factor and deals stall, go through a lot of back and forth, a lot of red tape, that always kills deals. So I'm like, this isn't a good, this might be a good thing for me after getting a foundation, something as a side to do, but it won't bring food on the table because your income is dependent on these other decision makers. So I shifted a little bit from there. I saw one time you always sign up for these email things and these programs. So I got an email one day about something called digital real estate. So I said, that's interesting. So I watched it, and the basic idea was that, let's say you have a rental property, but you're not going to get a consistent rental revenue because things always happen. The same concept can be transferred digitally. So instead of renting a property, how about renting websites, or how about renting other online digital assets that are going to produce usually the same or comparable revenue or income, but with much less headaches. No toilets, no tenants, no termites, no issues of that sort, right? So that took me along the path of SEO, of paid ads, of marketing, digital marketing, things of that sort. So that's where I'm settled in right now. And my main target audience that I service really is I found the best home services contractors. That's where I naturally gravitated towards. So now that this was about 2.5 years ago. So an AI now came about around roughly the same time, or a little bit afterwards. Really, it started to kick off afterwards. So the first year I kind of ignored it, and then my friend said, "Hey, did you actually take a deep look into this ChatGPT thing?" So then I started to take a deep look, and I said, "This is perfect. This can really solve a lot of problems in terms of, especially people who are heavily, their business is heavily dependent on lead generation.
So
And
why home service contractors? What was that you picked that target market or maybe medium-sized businesses? What was the driver for
it
that?
it was right up the alley, and since I was involved in real estate earlier, so that, of course, a big part of that is like contractors, improving properties, rehabbing properties.
Got it.
So that was related to that, and also it was like a low-hanging fruit that I saw, and because you can easily, one of the things is that when you really want to go into business, you want to make sure that the target market you serve is easy to get in touch with, easy to contact.
Mm-hmm.
So I did try to dabble a little bit, and I do have a couple lawyer friends, attorney friends, and I mean, we can talk about that too, where um, I'm working with one attorney now, but AI in a different way. So not to go too deep into that tangent, but AI too for document collection and document
Yeah.
collection analysis, right? Following up in that sense. So it's the same it's the same tool, but for different use. But yeah, a lot of the home service contractors are very easy to get in touch with. So that's also a big benefit of that. But that's why I
So
gravitated towards that.
so then you decided, okay, you wanted to work specifically with this niche. And then what motivated you to focus on now reducing overhead and automating profits for these type of clients? What was the motivation to provide these services, these AI services, or these tools, right?
Sure, that's a great question. At first, when I went into it, uh, I went into it thinking, okay, a business that's struggling is what I want to help, first of all. So I would try to go after businesses that were struggling. Like one person told me, okay, person who's on the third or fourth page of Google is the one most likely to need you and want your services. And that's the impression that I got into it in the beginning. But then I realized that actually, number one, if a business owner is not already spending money on marketing, it's going to be hard to convince them. So in other words, you kind of have to make two sales. You have to first convince them of the importance of paying for marketing, and then you have to convince them, okay, do it with me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like, double the effort or multiple efforts. So versus going after someone who is already paying for leads and spending on marketing and sees the importance and value in that, it's only a matter of maybe tweaking some process or showing them, hey, you're already doing good here, let me show you how to improve. And instead of like going from like 1x to 2x with a kind of a brand new or a struggling business, you could make a bigger difference going from, like, let's say, 5x to 15x or 20x. the
Mm-hmm.
the improvement is much more exponential.
Right,
Or
because they have some sort of process
they
in
have
place.
some
You're
sort of
just
process,
making it more
and like
efficient.
they're open to it too. So it's one thing that I have 3 kids, right? It's one thing to know or understand the concept of needing something versus wanting something. A person might need something, but they don't want it, or they don't know that this is something they need. So it's a bunch of you want to do as little as possible of that psychological convincing, and there's going to be like friction when it comes to the communication and sales process. So someone who's already open to the idea, now AI can, so they have like a, let's say, manual process. Uh, Maybe their sales team isn't up to par when it comes to like being on top of things, answering the phone or how to answer the phone. Um, Maybe some leads fall through the cracks. Maybe leads come in from multiple sources and they're not answering them in time. So there's a bunch of like holes to plug or bottlenecks to release, depending on how you want to phrase it, that you can help. You can be a much more valuable help to a business that at least has that foundation in place. Which was
So
basically paying for marketing or appreciating the need for advertising.
But even if someone has a business and haven't tried anything yet from a marketing standpoint, you can still help them. Like, what if they're open to get the help, you can
Yeah.
still start the process from scratch. It's like, okay, you have nothing in place yet. This is how I would suggest to go from A
Of
to B
course.
to C, right? Right.
Of course you can do that. But what that's very true. I'm not denying that at all. But what happens sometimes is that they're very reluctant to dive in. It needs like a leap of faith.
Mm,
And I don't blame them, I don't blame them for that. And the other thing is that not everyone really, at least in that space, is wants to grow and get big. Some people are
right.
happy with doing it as a, depending on word of mouth, they're doing it as a hobby, or they're kind of in the maybe tail end of their career and they just kind of want to relax and uh, easily go to retirement. So uh, that is definitely the case, what you said, but you want to go to where the probability is higher, where that
Mm-hmm.
you'd be able to make a difference. So, and that's what, one mentor pointed out to me. You want to actually, he said, don't go after the barefoot person and you want to sell shoes. Actually, go to someone who has 200 pairs of shoes in their closet. That's the one you want to sell shoes to.
Mm.
It kind of is counterintuitive on the surface, but it makes more sense as you go deeper into it.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face when integrating AI into a business that has sales and marketing processes? How did you overcome whatever challenges you faced in the beginning?
Are you referring to my challenges or their challenges?
Um, the biggest challenges that the client face when they're trying to integrate this tool.
Um,
And even
I
both,
mean, a
because
lot
it
of
could be
people,
from your side too, right? Like, okay, what are
yeah,
the things
yeah,
that maybe you haven't thought that now that you see these challenges from both sides, I guess, could be beneficial.
yeah. The biggest, not the biggest. Well, a lot of people are. It's so people have heard of it, kind of heard of it from the grapevine, something called AI, but they don't really know what it can do for them. So the first thing really is just kind of demo it, like, hey, look at what this can do for you. So um, opening that conversation up for them. But in terms of their own processes, it really is going from that manual to automation and introducing that automation. So I wouldn't really call it a challenge. I would just really call it that, okay, you'd have to not only customize so let's say the example of roofing, right? Um, not only do you want to customize the AI for roofing, so let me backtrack a little bit. So there's, the saying garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just if you just use the AI kind of out of the box without customizing it at all, you get you really get crappy results, to be honest. Like, let's say you want to that's what I noticed for one thing. If you want to come up with a ad copy, the what the AI is working with is it combines the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, if you just say, I want, this is my service, please give me an ad copy that I can use in Facebook ads, for example, the ad copy is not going to be that great. It's going to be mediocre at best because it's gathering everything that it has in its database or its knowledge base.
Right.
So you really have to be the one to understand not only like the industry on a broad level, but you want to talk to the client or the business owner to understand as well how they're different from their peers or their competition. So it's a lot. The key skill here is in how you customize the AI and how you build it from there. So that's something that I guess, I mean, I wouldn't call it a challenge. I don't like to call it a challenge because it's just something you need to learn and implement,
Yeah, and
right?
that's
And
why
then
you help. You help on the
yeah,
setup,
that's
right? Guiding them
exactly.
on what are the right prompts, inputs that the AI system should have in order to have a good output, right?
Yeah, I really do it myself for them because it's maybe too much to ask them. Okay, get up to speed about how to use AI. You don't want to put that burden on them. You want to make it easy. So it's more of a process of not interviewing, but it's more of a process of just discussing with them. Okay, what's the like one of my first questions I say is not not what's your most profitable service, but what service gives you the most bang for your buck, is the
Mm-hmm.
service that does have a high profit margin, but at the same time is the least hassle or the least stressful,
Mm-hmm.
the least work for you. You know what I'm saying? So it might uh, maybe, for example, not to get too deep, like sometimes roof coating is much easier to do than roof replacement.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as
Profitable, but
profitable as a full roof
right.
replacement, but it's easy work, and you still get a good chunk of money. That's just like a one example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I first asked them, like, what is it that you want? What's that kind of golden service you want to attract more? You don't want to just like do a lot of like simple small patch up work. That's not really profitable for them. So that's the first kind of direction you want to steer it towards. But it's not to get too deep into that. I know that we want to like make the time as valuable as possible. But then I try to examine what are their bottlenecks. What how are their sales team? Do they have a sales team? Do they have someone dedicated for the phones? How are they at answering the phones? How are they at overcoming objections? That's really a big one. The idea of, okay, you're great at what you do at replacing roofs or designing a landscape or installing a new furnace, stuff like that. But when it comes to overcoming objections and the whole
The sales
sales training,
process of it.
sales process, that also is a key thing that um, not every every not everyone who goes into business initially realizes that that's what they're doing, or that's what they need
So
to learn.
then maybe let's go back and talk about what are the primary problems that the Web Services Pro, which is your business, solve for its customers, right? What is it? What are the key things? You're saying we're talking about the sales process. What are the different things that, yeah, they are great at changing the roof, but this is how my company and my services can help them. And then what
Yeah,
are those things? What are those problems that you can solve?
yeah. So so it's the whole lead generation continuum. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it begins with there's paid ads. You can go paid ads route, Google ads, Facebook ads, things of that sort. And there's organic, and it doesn't organic is not only SEO, but a big part of it is SEO, but it can be as well video marketing. So there's different. So first you have to attract the leads or the interested people, the homeowners or the property owners, if you're talking commercial. um, a lot of, as I said, people or contractors who are already spending money of marketing, they already have that down. So where more I come in is what follows after that initial step of simply attracting or generating the leads, is now um, one of the main inputs that I use in the AI is the three common sales strategies or sales techniques, if you want to call it. So there's gap selling, there's spin selling, and the challenger sale. These three are, if you those who are familiar and with the whole world of sales and marketing will understand what those three are. So using that into the AI, so now a lead comes in. Let's say the guy is on the ladder on the roof. He doesn't have time to answer the call, or he's with dinner with his family. He wants to be with his family, right? You don't want to be stuck in work all the time. So the first interaction with the lead is with the AI. The AI already knows um, the industry. It already is familiar with the industry. It's familiar with that company itself and their SOPs, their process. How they not kind of the range of how they price things. Okay. It's also included into that or built into that, as I said, the sales techniques in there. Sorry. So the lead comes in at whatever time of day and whether that's like coming from like a Facebook Messenger or text or email or phone call. Um, Phone call, I'm still I kind of we talked about this earlier. I'm still working on like voice, kind of using voice AI. But anyway, the main thing is with text. You know, usually consumers like to text. They prefer texting more than calling, or chatting online more than calling, whether it's on the website as well. The AI interacts with that lead, finds out, you know, what it needs, what it wants in their property, in their house. It overcomes, that's the key thing, any objections that they have. Um, it also guides them through that, and because the contractor also has an idea of what their ideal client is like, so it not only answers the questions of the homeowner or the property owner, but it also like kind of sifts that lead to make sure it's a high quality lead. And let's say that if I'm able to get kind of a basic pricing structure, it will ask them, okay, you want a new roof, or you want to install a solar panel on your roof. So let's say, as an example, does your roof have a lot of shade? Is there too many trees around the roof? Do you own the property, or are you a renter? You know, these kind of questions that sift through the lead. If the lead is a good fit to what the contractor wants, so then the next step under that is, okay, do you have a basic idea of, let's say, the size of the roof? What materials you're looking for? Are you looking for a metal roof, or what kind of roof material you want?
So you're actually programming the AI to ask the right questions to
Exactly.
get the right
Yeah.
output for those leads that are coming in into their system, meaning website, phone, or whatever, right? You're
Yeah,
kind of like,
whatever it comes into. And then it gives them, it doesn't give them an exact quote, and I wanna to avoid that on purpose, but it gives them, you know, based on these general, like it's just like 3-4 questions based on what you stated, you can expect to get a quote in the range of like 12,000 to 15,000. So are
right.
you
So that
okay with
gives them
that?
some information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? So if the property owner says, yes, that's acceptable to me, so now that's when it says, okay, let's set up an appointment for you. So now it
Mhm.
sets up an appointment. It kind of feeds it directly with the API to the contractor's calendar, the Google Calendar or the work calendar. So the appointment is set for them. So the contractor gets the notification, you have a new appointment, and it gives the data or the information, customer name, address, you know, phone number, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, this is what the customer is requesting, and they're fine. So the beautiful thing about that is that that's like the highest level of lead possible, at least in my eyes, that the customer is happy and agreeable to that that quote range, you know. And it might, you know, and there's always the explanation there that it might be maybe a little bit under, a little bit over, depending on more details, because it doesn't go into
Mhm.
great detail. But you know, because they can expect that that's kind of the range, and they're happy with that. So it's a very smooth, easy process for now the contractor, because he's already kind of like 80% warmed up.
Right.
That
Yeah. So
lead,
then
right?
it's now
So
that's where
then
the
it's just like taking order. Okay, so let's, you know, let me go to the house, let me inspect the roof, let's see, maybe you missed something, let's kind of
Mhm.
you know, finalize it, that last 20% from there. And again, it's a very easy conversion for them. So they
Yeah, I
can
was gonna
see,
ask you about customer service because I wonder like if contractors or business owners are concerned about, well, compromising quality on the customer service piece using this type of technology. But as long as it's set up in a way that effectively communicates what the lead is asking in the beginning for the first touch, then the
yeah,
customer service won't be as
you
bad,
never,
right?
exactly, like you never want to be totally 100% dependent on AI as well. You need that
No,
human
of
touch.
course.
You need that human touch. So it's only taking them, you know, that part of the way. And at the same time, it deals with any kind of unqualified or tire kickers, because that's also a big problem. This kind of people being tire kickers, or people who like their first priority is just the price. Like I want to kind of like what you might find with leads from, let's say, Groupon or coupon sites, that their main focus is, okay, I just want the cheapest price, and they don't
Mhm.
really value that, okay, this contractor, you know, he might not be the cheapest, but he's the best value for you. But they don't see that, doesn't come eye to eye. So that's where a lot of friction comes in the sales process for the contractor, and so this saves a lot of time, of their time and their energy, and reduces their stress about they don't even have to hear from a tire kicker. It just
And
kind of
even like, because you help in the step two, right? They have their own step on getting the leads. You take the step two where, okay, once the
Yeah.
lead comes in, that's how you start helping them, right? But in the beginning, if they, depending on how good of a system they have from getting the right leads, that's maybe you can adjust or help them optimize step one in order for step two to be successful, right? Because maybe they don't have the right system for getting the right leads either. And then then step two is not really maybe working as well, right? So you kind of still like probably advise them on how to optimize step one, or no?
Yeah, if they need help with their ads, like if they're already running ads and they need help with it, or um there's always optimizations to be used in that. I'll give you one example. So let's say about with SEO. So it's one good thing that your website shows up on page one of Google, but why not occupy multiple spots? So if somebody goes to Google and says like painter near me, so the first thing that shows up on top is the ads. Then you have the Google Maps results, the GMB, and then you have sometimes under it, there's a section like people also ask, a section where like common questions that people ask, and then you have like the websites under it. So you can a lot of them don't have, for example, a content strategy. So if you introduce a content strategy, and that doesn't mean asking them, okay, ignore your customer service and just sit down and write a blog. It doesn't mean like that, but these common questions can be answered as well. Like another feature of AI is coming up with content. So it can answer these questions that common customers have. So then when a person goes to that section and it clicks on the result, it can lead to their business, right? So that's one way. The other thing is that there's a nice technique not many people know, where you can in this industry specifically with home services, Google likes to show directories, so things like Yelp, Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Angie's List, these type of directories there. So you can take advantage of that and do something called parasite SEO. It's like an ugly name, but not to go too deep into that. But there's a way to take advantage of it where you occupy multiple spots in Google. So when the customer comes in, you have 3, 4, 5 spots on that first page. So you get more exposure, more visibility. And that's aside from the paid ads, right? So you don't have to only focus on both of them, both paid ads and organic SEO. They both have pros and cons. And the most important thing really is that visibility. Another thing that I like to help with in that regards, like step one, when you're talking about, is kind of thinking outside the box when it comes to endorsed traffic. So what I mean by that is, let's say a fence builder. Okay, let's say you have a fence builder. So which contractor would not be competing with that fence builder, but would be a good partner to partner up with? So let's say for them, a fence builder would be like a landscaper or a deck builder. So why not partner up with the landscaper and deck builder and have like a page on their website of someone already ranking? So like a landscaper website that's already ranking high on Google. So they're getting the eyeballs and the visibility. So now a fence builder wants to come along and partner up with them and say, hey, what do you think of having a page on your website or like a section on your website that you yourself as a landscaper, you don't install fences, but I do. So why not tag team up, with each other? And that's like a very, so in other words, the benefit of that is that you're not having to start from scratch and spending like 6 months or 12 months, doing backlinks and doing all these SEO processes to climb from page 4 or 3 up to page 1 in Google, because you're attaching to someone already on page 1. So it's very quick. You're not like kind of risking or spending money on paid ads, because there's a lot. It's always a hassle that the first 2 to 3 months of paid ads, you're doing a lot of tweaking and optimizing, and it's a lot of spending money until you get to that, sweet spot where you're really getting good results. So
Right.
thinking outside the box in that level, there's a lot of things that you can help there in that sense as well. Just getting that visibility, and then from
Okay.
there, you plug in the AI and you do all these like lead qualification and lead management and scheduling appointments in their calendar. So much of the work is done for them, as I said, and from their angle, they're getting that appointment scheduled, and that's where they step in. So now
Okay.
they work their magic. They go to the property, to the house, they discuss with the customer their final needs, they give them the quotes, and if they're not really terrible in their communication, they should be able to get 75-80% conversion rate with that.
Well, that's good. So maybe if when they decide to reach out to you, you can guide them a little bit more on depending what journey they are at and what they can do better to improve their systems, right?
Yeah. And one thing, Mrs. Dalto, that I want to mention, and this can apply to not, so I'm talking a lot about contractors, but this can apply to most industries and businesses, is the whole idea of reviving your old leads. That's a big one. So you've been in business 5-10 years, you have a whole database of old leads, and that can either mean like past customers who've actually purchased from you, and as well leads that didn't convert. So leads that made it somewhat of the way. And I like to use the example of football. So it's easier to score a touchdown from like the 5 or 10-yard line versus always starting from the end of the field. So if you have an old lead that they do already know you, they know your business, they're familiar with you, they've interacted with you before, maybe for some reason it wasn't the right time for them, or you didn't offer like installments or financing, and now you have that offer, maybe the offer wasn't right for them. So there's some ways that you can reach out back to them and, okay, we weren't able to get your service the first time, maybe there's some way that we can get your service this time. And the AI works very well for that as well, because that in overcoming the sales objections.
Yeah. It's all about the sales process and finding a way to optimize it as much as you can. So okay, so tell a little bit the audience.
Even just to kind of wrap up that thought, even like you can come to a business owner and let's say they don't want to do paid ads, you can make just a lot of revenue attacking the old leads using the AI. That can be
right, as long as you have a list of contacts in your CRM that you can work off. Yeah, I agree with that. Sales strategy is really good.
So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off. I think from
no, it's fine. I just wanted for people to know more about where to find you, any places that you can guide them to connect with you so they can learn more about your system and your business.
Yeah, the easiest way is just to go to the website, webservicespro.co. The main way. I'm not that active, but I have a YouTube channel. It has like a couple dozen videos. They can go there. I have a Facebook page and a LinkedIn. So those are like my 3 social medias. But website is the easiest. They can email me, owner@webservicespro.co. So that's the best way to get in touch.
Excellent. And I'll put everything in the show notes for the audience, for those that they are interested to connect with Basil, because that's super helpful to maybe keep exploring, how he can help you take your business to the next level with these AI tools. Sounds like you have a good system in place that you can help them optimize what they already have. So I really appreciate the time explaining your services and giving ideas for the business owners to leverage the tool that you have. So thank you so much, Basil.
Yeah, and I'm always excited and always willing to you talked about challenges, but I'm always excited to learn, if there's some business owner listening to you, and excited to learn like their whole process, their whole business, how AI can help in that. It's a very interesting thing about how to mold and customize AI for them. I love doing that. So I'm
Yeah,
very
and AI
ready
is
to-
it's everywhere, and sometimes people get overwhelmed about, okay, one more tool with AI is how does this work? But this is where I see the value is not just having the tool, but having you as the person guiding them in the journey, in the process to get it set up the right way with the right
Exactly.
inputs to make it work, and not just buying a tool online and say good luck trying to make that work. So
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
value of having you on the show and explain a little bit more in detail how it could be implemented for your niche.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Basil, again, for guiding us on this AI journey to help grow our businesses. This is super helpful. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in as well. Again, we will add all the resources that Basil shared with us today, so then you can connect with him if you're interested to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Basil,
Thank you
so much.
Okay. Have a good time.
You too. Thanks. See you next time.